Welcome to Peptide-proof. Today, we're looking at the precision skincare shift and how hormone-driven changes are creating a new market. Let's dive right into the data. We're starting off with this Q3 market analysis on Midi Health and what's been called the menopause gap. Their recent clinical pivot is way more than just another skincare launch. It actually represents a massive, fundamental shift in the industry. We're moving straight toward hormone-driven, highly precise formulations.
This whole precision shift really boils down to three core pillars. First up is the trigger. Midi Health, which actually started out as a women's telehealth platform, is now targeting a demographic that has been heavily neglected for years: menopausal women. Second is the science. They're using highly targeted signal peptides to completely bypass traditional estrogen pathways. And third, the impact. This is what's pushing the industry away from those generic anti-aging creams you see everywhere and moving us toward highly targeted, medical-grade solutions.
Now, if you want to understand why this targeted approach is absolutely necessary, just take a look at this 30% collagen cliff. See that steep drop-off? That represents a massive 30% loss of skin collagen in just the first 5 years of menopause. When you compare that to the much steadier baseline degradation in men, it becomes super clear. This is not your standard, everyday chronological aging. It's a rapid structural collapse, and it's caused directly by estrogen withdrawal.
Because the underlying mechanism is so completely different, standard treatments just aren't going to cut it. On one side, we have standard photoaging, UV damage and oxidative stress. We've traditionally treated that with things like retinol and vitamin C. But then, look at hormone-driven aging on the other side. Here we're dealing with structural collapse and really acute moisture loss from that estrogen withdrawal. Traditional antioxidants are basically fighting the wrong battle. They literally cannot fix the systemic hormone signaling gaps that are causing the problem.
And this is exactly where the science of peptides steps in. Under normal conditions, estrogen signals your fibroblast cells to produce collagen. But during menopause, those receptors are starved, and those natural signals just fade away. So enter exogenous peptides. Specific signal peptides, specifically palmitoyl tripeptide 1 and tetrapeptide 7, step up as alternative messengers. They completely bypass that blocked estrogen pathway and go to work directly maintaining collagen production, completely independent of the body's hormonal status.
But here's the catch. Not all peptides can actually pull this off. Take copper peptides, for example. They're fantastic for wound healing, sure, but they're a pretty poor fit for menopause. And neurotransmitter peptides? Well, they'll freeze an expression line just like Botox, but they completely fail to address the actual loss of structural density. The real sweet spot is signal peptides. Because their main job is targeting TGF pathways to directly synthesize collagen, they perfectly address the exact biological deficit caused by estrogen loss.
So how exactly does a brand capitalize on all the science? Midi Health is executing a very precise 4-step playbook. Step 1. Identify that neglected demographic. Step 2, formulate with absolute precision, meaning they ditch the universal ingredients in favor of those very specific signal peptides. Step 3 is positioning this as prescription grade, using much higher active concentrations than you'd ever find in an over-the-counter beauty counter. And finally, Step 4, extend the care continuum. They're turning what used to be episodic telehealth visits into a daily, at-home maintenance routine.
This entire strategy runs on a really powerful telehealth to skincare pipeline. Notice the built-in clinical authority right at the center of this model. Because Midi Health started out as a medical platform, they bring a level of inherent trust and authority that purely marketing-driven brands just don't have. They're following some highly successful market precedents. Think of disruptors like Curology or hers. Midi Health is leveraging that exact same medical trust to seamlessly move patients straight into daily direct-to-consumer care.
Taking a step back for a second, Midi Health is really illustrating a much wider evolution happening across skincare. In the past, peptides were marketed as these magical, one-size-fits-all cure-alls for general aging. But the future? The future is all about scenario-specific precision. Brands are realizing they have to market the exact scientific mechanism, like palmitoyl tripeptide 1, for highly targeted applications. It's no longer just about selling hope, it's about proving the biology.
So, this leaves us with 3 strategic imperatives that are totally reshaping the market. First, niche is the new mass. These highly targeted products are going to steadily outperform generic claims. Second, ingredient literacy is rising. Consumers are smart. They now expect actual proof of mechanism, not just a general peptide label slapped on a bottle. And finally, the medical retail convergence is giving telehealth platforms a massive commercial advantage. High-efficacy, physiologically targeted products absolutely are the future of this industry. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.